Right, where do we start today, eh? Plenty to talk about. Also a bit emotional today as well. But here, let's get into it. Good morning. Well, when I say good morning, late good morning for me recording this podcast. I normally have this podcast recorded early in the morning, and obviously on a Thursday as well instead of a Friday. So hello, happy Friday. Hope you're all doing well out there. To say I'm a wee bit rough today is a bit of an understatement. Well, more tired than anything else. Bit of a late night last night. Bit of an emotional morning this morning. That's why I'm recording the podcast later in the morning. But I'm here, and I think this podcast is going to help me wake up more because I am really tired today. I had a really late night last night. I did mention on yesterday's vlog, by the way. If you haven't gone and checked it out, I put it out yesterday. Go and check it out on the YouTube channel. But yes, I'm here. Anyway, happy Friday. Hope you're all doing well. I'm, as I said, feeling a bit rough around the edges today. You know, I had a late night last night, and I'm just trying to refocus. And it's the weekend, most importantly. It's the weekend. So it is. It's great. Well, apart from some of the fucking bullshit stories I'm going to be talking about over the next period of time. But it's Friday. It's the weekend. So it is. So let's get into it. But anyway, yes. Before we go any further in the podcast today, if you are a new listener to the Moore Army podcast, or if you are a regular listener, you know how to get in touch with us now. But if you don't, I want to tell you anyway, because I like to do this anyway every week. If you are new to the Moore Army podcast, you can contact the program or the show, or whatever you want to call it, by the following methods. You know, we have no restrictions on this podcast. We can talk about anything you want. So we can. You can ask me whatever you want as well, which a lot of you do. But if you want to get in contact with me, I would like to hear from you. First of all is the email address for the program, the show, the podcast, whatever you want to call it. moorearmypodcast@yahoo.com. Also, if you're on social media, which a lot of you are now anyway. Not everybody's on social media. My brother's not on social media. Don't know why he's never been on social media. Kind of a smart idea, actually. First of all, if you're on Facebook, you can search up the YouTube channel's Facebook page, which is Moore Army YouTube channel. Drop a like on the page for me, would appreciate it. You can send me questions on there too as well, which a lot of you do. If you're on social media, on the old Instagram, contact me on Instagram, which a lot of you do all the time, which I love listening to all your stories. Official Matthew Moore on Instagram, and also the website for all your merchandise. Watch all the videos, Moore Army Hub, basically, moorearmy.co.uk. I sound rough as a badger's arse this morning, don't I? Just a bit tired today, just so to speak. I've had 2 cups of coffee, I've had 2 bottles of water, and I was out this morning. And I'm glad I came home when I did, because it looks like it's about to fucking piss down my rain again. After having such a lovely day yesterday. The sun was shining. I even talked about it in my vlog yesterday. People were outside, people were out cutting their grass, and kids are out playing water fights in the street and in their swimming pools in the garden, and people are outside, the neighbours are all sitting in the garden having a glass of beer or whatever. They're all just out. It's the summertime, it's great. Well, and then today, typical Northern Ireland, of course, the fucking sun is gone and the dark clouds are back out again. But I managed to get out this morning because I'm glad, because today's a very emotional day for me. Before we get into some of the subjects I want to talk about today, because I got some really big stories to talk about. I'm going to be talking about the situation with those people who, as of last night, have been confirmed as dead. People who were trapped in the sea, down trying to see the wreck of the Titanic. I got a really, really fucking not a big story. I want to be talking about Harry again, but you're not going to believe what this story is. I mean, their saga continues, but I read this story this morning, and I was like, I got to talk about this. This guy's a fucking lunatic. I've got that to talk about. I've got all our different things we'll talk about, and then also I'm going to be answering your questions at the end, and also announcing this week's Jackass of the Week. But anyway, what I've been up to since the last time I spoke to you. I'll run briefly through what I've been up to. I've been pretty busy. If you haven't saw the vlog from yesterday, Lewis and I were in Larne on Wednesday night. Yeah, Wednesday night. We ran into the Premiership Trophy. Larne were awful nice to let us hold the trophy and do a video for YouTube and everything else, the Premiership Trophy. Go and watch that vlog, guys. Honestly, it was a good one. Been to the hospital with Lewis to have a checkup. He's doing good. He's fit and healthy. Pretty much haven't been up to much, really, guys, to be honest with you, since the last time I spoke to you. Now, today is a very emotional day for me today. I've mentioned it on this podcast before. I've also mentioned it briefly on my YouTube channel. I was on a very emotional phone call last night as well, which sort of hit home. Today would have been my friend's 42nd birthday, my friend who unfortunately passed away. All of a sudden, out of the blue, he just passed away randomly. Died in his mum's arms, actually, believe it or not. But yeah, it's his 42nd birthday today, and I was on the phone last night for an hour and a half with one of his sisters, and we were just chatting away about everything in general, and then we were talking about him, and I was telling her a few more wee stories from back in the day, whenever we were kids, and everything else. So it was quite an emotional night last night, and as you all know, guys, I say on this podcast, Thursday day is my beer day, where I have a few beers and switch off from the world, and just sort of have a bit of me time after a long week, and no kids around my feet, and just have a few hours to myself and whatever. But then last night got a wee bit emotional, talking to his sister on the phone, and the drinks were flowing, and I got a wee bit tiddly last night. Wee bit, not too bad. But yeah, it was an emotional night. We're chatting away about everything, and we were talking about the day he passed away, and talking about the stories memories I have of him, and just different wee bits and pieces and stuff like that. And I was telling the sister I was going up to see his wee memorial tree at the cemetery this morning, because today's his birthday and stuff. And she was like, "Oh, really? You going up tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there. I'm always there. Go up and see him." So went up this morning, guys, and spent a wee while with him, and obviously cleaned up his wee tree and stuff, and make sure everything was fine and whatnot, and had a wee yarn, and sat there and wished him happy birthday and whatnot, and just sort of spent a bit of time with him. It's just weird, the fact that, I'm 42 next month, and he would have been 42 today. Like he died when he was 36 maybe, which is nothing. You know what I mean? He was 35 when he died. So he was, that's nothing. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget the day that I found out he had passed away. Like, it broke me. We have so many great memories of me and him. There's photographs of me and him on my social media if you want to go and check them out when we were kids. I only ever have one photograph of me and him together, and we're acting like two tits, basically. As we always did. Like, we never got in any trouble or nothing like that, but we're always just sort of, having fun and just being kids. I mean, back then there was no social media. The photograph I have of me and him held on a fucking Polaroid camera. It's on a Polaroid camera photo thing. There was no social media back then. There was early internet, but it was very limited to what you got here in this country. There was no Facebook, no Instagram, no YouTube, none of that shit. And we had such a simple life. I was telling the sister last night when we first got our first mobile phones together, and he was on one network and I was on another. And funny enough, we were talking about that actually, because I was flicking through YouTube there the other night and in bed, and I was going through a lot of the old TV adverts from back in the day. I don't know why I was but just flicking through just to have a wee look back and go, "Oh my God, do you remember that?" And sometimes you just sort of sit there and you flick through things and go, "Fuck, do you remember that there back in the day? Gee whiz." And one of the adverts come up for the phone that I actually had, my first ever mobile phone. And it's so funny because I saw it on Facebook Marketplace for sale about 4 or 5 days before I saw the advert, and then last night we were talking about it. It's really strange how these things happen, but it was just it was nice to have a wee yarn with his sister last night and stuff. And we've arranged we're going to meet up next week. We're going to catch up and have some dinner and have a coffee and stuff, and then we're going to arrange a thing where we get together with his other sister and his mum and just get together and just, remember him, because he was a character. Like, I mean, I was talking to mum last night on a video call before I spoke to my friend's sister, and I was saying to mum it was his birthday today, and she was like, what, really? And I was like, yeah. I said, what age would he have been? I mean, mum, he's only about 2 or 3 weeks older than me. And she's like, serious? Oh God, it's hard to believe that, isn't it? Like, no, tell me about it. But at the end of the day, I've got all my good memories, and I'll always remember the good times with me and him, because we did have a lot of great times together when we were kids. I mean, some people probably look at it and go, that's fucking stupid. Especially the kids of today. I mean, the simplest things back then were so precious then, because I mean, I wish there was camera phones even back then, because the nights that we had, the days that we had, we used to, at weekends we used to get our pay packet on a Friday and go down into town and like go into the food places and get some food and try and maybe get into a bar when you were like 17. Obviously you couldn't then, because the bouncers were so fucking strict. When I used to work in certain places, he would come down and see me. Like, for example, I was telling his sister last night, there's an industrial factory not too far from where I live, and I used to work in a factory that like a production line for kettles and toasters and all. A company called Morphy Richards, I'm sure you've probably heard of them. And literally used to have a factory here in the town I live in, and directly across the road from that, like literally not even 100 yards across the road, was this kitchen warehouse thing, and he worked in there in the kitchens. So every lunchtime we'll come out and meet each other. So we would, back then, obviously this was the 90s, so we'd text each other on the old phones. Text messages were charged an absolutely fucking extortionate price for a text message. What time's your lunch at? I'll hold back till you get yours, or I'll hold back so we can meet each other at lunchtime. And then one day I go over and sit outside his work, and then the following day he'd go over and sit outside my work. You know what I mean? We'd just sit and talk nonsense, talk about just general stuff. Talk about, boys at that age, I was 17 at the time, 18. So you talk about girls and talk about football and talk about everything else that's going on. I mean, again, guys, back then there was no social media or nothing then. You know what I mean? There was no internet on your phone or fuck all. There was no camera phones. It was just simpler times. But, looking back on it now, I mean, that's memories I'll take to my grave. You know what I mean? We were talking about this sister-in-law last night. As I said, we're having a wee chat and yarn and stuff about all the different things done. She says, look, listen, she says, you'll see him again one day. Whenever it's your time to go, you'll see him again. And I mean, I don't know. He'll probably look at me and look at his watch and go, you took your fucking time. Where have you been? But, no, it was nice to get up this morning and see him and you know what I mean? It's hard to lose a loved one, or it's hard to lose a relative, or hard to lose a friend, or, it's hard. You know what I mean? That's one that always struck me. Really, really did. Just, But I'll try and remember the good times, because we did have a lot of good times, me and him. A lot of good times, and, at the end of the day, I'll never forget him. Never. He was my best friend. So he was, but I've always wanted him to get to know my kids as well, and it's just one of those things, isn't it? But it's his birthday today, and I'm sure he's up there now, probably looking down at us and going, why he's being all soppy bastards over me for? See, he was always a very quiet person, very shy sometimes as well, and he didn't like people making a fuss over him, and he'd probably be looking down today going, come on, big man, what are you playing at here, like fucking making a fuss over me and getting all soppy for? Why you're nagging? He would. But I miss him, and it's his birthday today, so happy birthday, my friend, and I'll see you someday down the road. And it's so strange I said that, because the last thing he ever said to me, the last time I saw him was about 12 days before he died. And the last thing he said to me was, well, we're talking about him, because we hadn't seen each other for a while, and I was like, we gotta meet up, we gotta get back together, we gotta go and do your own thing, and catch up like we were. And he's like, yes, 100%, yep, we'll definitely do it and all. And I remember we did swap numbers, I think, for what I remember. And I was like, I asked him, was he on social media back then? This was 2016. And I was saying to him, like, we gotta meet up and all. He's like, yes, definitely. And the last thing he said to me was, I'll see you down the road, mate. And he walked away. And that was the last thing he ever said to me. I'll see you down the road. And when I said that to his sister last night after obviously having a few beers on me, I got a wee bit emotional about it all. I promised myself I wouldn't get too emotional on the podcast today. But no, it was just obviously the way he said it, and he walked away, and that was the last time I ever saw him. So, but anyway, happy birthday, my friend. I hope you're having a good day today. Up there with all the characters that you knew as well, and obviously the ones we know and all too as well. So I will see him soon. Don't you worry about that. So he will. He'll be, again, as I said, when the time the big man calls my number, he'll be looking at me going, "What? You took your fucking time? Any chance here?" Like, but anyway, yes, guys. That's pretty much what I've been up to. We're up to very much, apart from being away in Lauren there the other night. Tomorrow, I'm actually away. Tomorrow morning, I'm actually away. I don't even know why I'm going to be away for the night or not. I'm actually heading to Port Stewart, Portrush, Coleraine and stuff tomorrow as well. I've no football tomorrow, so I'm actually going away for the day. So I am, which I'm looking forward to. I'm going to record some footage while I'm away to do like a wee vlog where I'm going to be showing you where I've been and what I've been up to and stuff like that. So, just looking forward to getting away for a day or so. Now, I don't even know why I'm staying there or not. I don't know whether I'm coming back home again that night. I don't know, but all I know is that I'm going tomorrow and I can't wait. So I'm looking forward to that. So, but no football this weekend. Not back to football now until Tuesday night, because I'm going to a kit launch on Tuesday night. So I'm looking forward to that. And then this time next Friday, guys. That's right. This time next Friday, Lewis and I will be in London, baby. I hate saying that. I don't know what people say that for. Because Joey said it on Friends, and he goes, "London, baby." No. We're going to London next Friday morning to go and see WWE SmackDown at the O2 Arena on Friday night, and then WWE Money in the Bank, which is a pay-per-view event, which now we found out last week that fucking clown Logan Paul's going to be there, the guy who does all the Prime drinks and all. He's going to be there, so Lewis is happy because Logan Paul's going to be there, and I'm like, Merry Christmas. And he's like, "Come on, buy loads of Prime, we're in London," and I'm like, no. Anyway, yes, next Friday we're in London, so I'm going to be recording a podcast on Tuesday next week as normal. Potentially still on Thursday as normal, yes, which is grand. I'll keep you posted on social media. And then obviously we're going to be doing loads of vlogs throughout the week, and then obviously the vlogs when we're away to the show, and yeah, we're going to be pretty busy. So we are. So we'll be loads of footage next week on our YouTube channel and podcasts and you name it. We're going to have loads of our content next week, so I'm looking forward to that. So I am looking forward to it. Right, what have I got for you today? For the love of God, there's so much to talk about today. Just got my notes here actually in front of me here. I'm trying to open them up. If they decide to open up on my laptop, hopefully they decide to open up. Fingers crossed. Wait, where are we here? There we go. Hello, Mr. Notes. Right, what have I got for you today? Obviously, we're going to talk about this situation with the Titanic and people who unfortunately now have passed away down trying to see the Titanic. Oh, Prince Harry. This guy just, every week, I say to myself, right, I'm not going to talk about them fucking arseholes again, and something else keeps coming up. And something's come up today, and I'm like, this guy's a fucking lunatic. An absolute lunatic. I'm going to be also talking about the band Steps. Do you remember them back in the heyday? God, they were back in the day, like, flip me. About one of their tours. Apparently they're refusing to do it over LGBTQ. Also, I've got some football news. Aston Villa Football Club have signed a controversial shirt sponsor deal that has a lot of people very, very angry. Interesting. What else have I got for you today? I saw this morning about a girl who has been now found guilty for killing her baby, and I'll tell you more about that story. And I think it's just absolutely fucking wrong. Like, some people nowadays are just unbelievable. So I have Amazon as well are in the news as well about their Prime customers, because they have a Prime sale coming up here soon, and a lot of people are very, 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 very annoyed about it all. More on that as well. But yes, let's get into the first subject at hand. These people who went down to visit the Titanic. Now, this is a very expensive trip. A lot of very rich people do this here. Apparently it costs like £200,000 just to go and to do this trip. And apparently there was like technical difficulties or whatever it was, and they ended up losing track of where this little mini submarine thing was. And over the last lot of days since obviously I recorded the last podcast, it was coming up, they were running out of oxygen. There was only so many days left of oxygen and whatever else. And then late last night, I saw the news that apparently they have all died. Apparently there was an implosion in the actual thing, and there was one guy I was watching last night briefly on my phone. He was on one of the news channels. I think it was GB News he was on. He was saying, if that's the case, the 5 people inside that would not feel it. They'd be gone instantly because of the pressure under the water. Like, is it, say, 38,000 feet deep or something it is, where the Titanic is. But this is the thing that annoyed me. This really fucking pissed me off, right? I know if this was my family member, I'd be pissed off. Apparently there was a place, was it off the Isle of Wight or something? There's a place that had this technology so they could go down and actually get these people in time. But apparently the US government was blocking it and wouldn't let it happen. And I'm looking at that and I'm going to myself, what the fuck? Like, seriously, these people, like, they're about to die? Get the people over there as quick as they can, get down there and get them people out. But obviously it didn't happen now because unfortunately they've all now passed away. They said that they've now found bits of debris down there and they're going to gather it all together and try and find out exactly what happened and what caused it. Now there was things coming up the other day, I think it was Wednesday I saw, there was like signs of Morse code and stuff, whatever it was, and I'm going to myself, like, in today's world with all the technology we have for being at sea, you think you would have the technology just them people had, but the US government blocked to come down and get those people out. But unfortunately it never happened. And those people are now gone, which is sad to see. And I obviously send my condolences to the families of the people who have passed away, because it's such a terrible, terrible thing. And it's an expensive thing as well. To pay all that money to go down there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love hearing new things about Titanic and new stories, and I seen that new thing they brought out a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, this whole new look of it, where they actually filmed things down there where it may give you a full look of the actual ship in full clear, I think it was 8K or something, whatever it was filmed in, I don't know. It was like a whole thing, this big special thing, and it looked really, really good. But at the end of the day, to pay all that money to go down there and see it, okay, you want to, obviously everybody wants to see what it looks like in person and all, but fuck, you're taking a big chance going down there. So you really are taking a big, big chance going down there, and unfortunately for those people, they took the chance, and unfortunately they're not coming back. And it's so, so sad, for the families, and I've been keeping an eye on the story. I was reading a few things this morning. It's crazy, I feel so sorry for the families. I really, 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 really do. So I really, really do feel so bad for them. But the fact is that the American government are blocking these people from going down and doing it, and that was like, fuck, that was my family. And they were saying this morning, I was listening to on my AirPods this morning, walking into the graveyard this morning, on the news and stuff. They were saying on the radio, they were saying apparently this is going to get the federal level of investigation, exactly what the hell went on. And that's fully understandable, and I totally agree. It should be a full federal investigation, exactly what the hell happened. It's so, so sad though, guys, you know what I mean? And 5 people have lost loved ones now and family members, and it's just like, your heart breaks for them. It really, really does. So again, I send my condolences to the family of those 5 people who unfortunately are no longer with us anymore. So, so sad. So it is. Guys, and I said to you before, I don't want to talk about this fucking balloon head, but again, it's been all over the news the last lot of days. I was talking about it on the podcast the other day about Harry and Meghan's podcast being scrapped, and apparently there's rumours going around that apparently Netflix is going to kick them to the curb after one season of their lovely programme they have on Netflix, which I've only watched 10 minutes of and wanted to pull my eyeballs out and go and run in front of a bus. I just no interest in them. But this podcast, there's been stories coming out over the last couple of days about this podcast that apparently in those some of those interviews with Meghan and people, Meghan actually wasn't with them people when they were being interviewed. There were like 2 different audio recordings being put together, which is cheating the punter out of a proper podcast. You know what I mean? And like, for example, one person who was interviewing on it said that she was asked her questions by a producer and not actual Megan, which is like, what the fuck, like, seriously. And you know, when you go down and you read the small print and all on their podcast, and it tells you, you know, all these things, these be loopholes at the cover to try and get themselves. They're just fucking clowns, these two. But I was reading this morning. Apparently Prince Harry wanted to interview, listen to this here for the podcast, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, about their childhood traumas in a bizarre podcast idea. Here's a wee article I pulled a few notes from this morning. It says Prince Harry hoped to interview Vladimir Putin, Mark Zuckerberg, Donald Trump as well, amongst others, about their upbringing on a Spotify podcast. It has been claimed the Duke was discussing ideas with various producers. Producers. I wish the fuck I had a producer. Save me having to edit this podcast every week. For potential shows, as he planned to speak to the controversial figures about their childhoods and how they became the men they are today. Like, what the fuck? Harry also wanted to have a chat with Pope Francis about religion, which left chiefs at Spotify baffled, according to Bloomberg. Now, you all know who Bloomberg is. It comes after Harry and Meghan's podcast was scrapped by Spotify. I'm on Spotify right now and I have been fucking scrapped. This guy is a joke. He's a fucking lunatic. I'm tired of talking about him. I'm actually not going to talk much more about him because he's a nutcase. Anything for attention. Like, seriously. It's like, Harry, son, you need to... I don't know. Those names alone. Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump would obviously be an interesting one. I watched the podcast with Donald Trump there about 3 weeks ago. Didn't watch it all, but I watched some of it. It wasn't a bad podcast. I told you before, I met Donald Trump in 2007. I met him for all of 30 seconds to a minute. Big dude, like. Big dude. So he is. So, but yeah, fuck, Harry's not kiss. So he is. I see a lot of things going on over in the mainland at the minute. Like doctor strikes, like junior doctor strikes. I just seen that this morning. Just popped into my head there as I was talking to you, and also real strikes again about pay and stuff. Doctors apparently are going to be striking again because of their pay, which I think they should get paid more for, especially for the jobs that they do. And then obviously the train lines are going to be doing strikes over in the mainland towards the end of July. So here's hoping they don't do strikes whenever I need to get to England for the summer. An RV story, next something we're going to talk about is actually the band Steps, but I just wanted to bring this one up today as well because being a dad, seen a thing in the news this morning that a newborn baby was murdered by her mum in England. Apparently this young lady, this is the story, she's been found guilty of murder and she's going to be sentenced this Monday coming. But this is what baffles me, right? This wee girl had this baby when she was 15, right? 15, coming 16. And apparently she murdered the baby as soon as not long after the baby was born. She then proceeded to go on and put the baby inside a black bag and leave the baby at the front door of the house. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, seriously? And then the mum came around the next morning to see where she was, whatever, and she found the baby in the black bag at the front door. So the wee girl who was coming 16, who's now 19, murdered her own baby. And I look at that story as a father and I go, what type of fucking lunacy is out there in this world right now? What did that wee baby ever do to deserve that? Like, seriously? There's people out there who can't even have children. I've been blessed with two great kids that I obviously adore. Okay, they drive me nuts sometimes, but that's just because they're teenagers. But there's people out there who can't even have babies. And these young ones out there are getting pregnant and then they're killing their babies. Or even other people are killing their babies or whatever. You know, I could talk about this all day and go into a whole big in-depth discussion about it, but I'm not going to because, again, it would probably take about 30 minutes just to get a lot of stuff off my chest about it. But again, I'm disgusted about this story, and that, well, she's a woman now, she's 19, should obviously be jailed for a long time. Like, that wee baby, a wee innocent baby, didn't ask to be brought into this world, didn't ask to be treated the way it was, and that child never done nothing wrong. And it's so, so sad. It really, really is. When I read that story this morning, I was like, oh my God, seriously? And the fact that she was pregnant at 15, okay, things happen, you get accidentally get pregnant and stuff like that there, but there's precautions out there. You know what I mean? And I do see a lot, especially over the last couple of years, I've seen a lot of young pregnancies, a lot. And then you go on to the likes, I seen videos and stuff like that on the internet about a year or so ago, these wee young ones going around at like 18, 19, even younger, having babies and going, I'm getting a house and all now, and I'm getting everything paid for me, it's great. And I'm going to myself, fuck me, really? And there is ones out there, and I'll be honest with you, I don't care what anybody says, there's ones out there who deliberately have babies just for fucking money, and they get themselves a house. And I don't care what anybody says. They can write me an email, or they can fucking send me a telegram, or whatever you want to do, or you can send me an Instagram message, say what you want. There's people out there who deliberately get themselves pregnant just to gain money and also get a roof over their head. And I understand that there's ones out there who get pregnant, which it's obviously an accident. And again, not all contraceptives are 100%. But again, you need to be careful, and you need to obviously, take a bit of precaution. But again, these things happen. Everything happens for a reason. But when I read that story this morning about that wee young baby dying at a wee girl I don't know what would motivate the wee girl to do it. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she was panicking because she was thinking, oh shit, I'm 15, I don't know what to do and all that there. Because at the end of the day, it's like, fuck me, like, if my daughter walked in at 15 pregnant, I would be fucking heartbroken. Like, I would after I fucking killed the fella who got her pregnant first, like, I'd strangle him, wee fucker, for getting my daughter pregnant. Because at the end of the day, if you have a child so young, you know what I mean? Oh, that's most of your youth. Well, a lot of your youth actually, like, on hold, because you're spending the next 18 years bringing up this child to, but then again, you get the ones out there who get fucking pregnant, and then their mummy and daddy does all the work for them because they're too young to look after the baby. And that wouldn't be the case, because like, if my Brooke walked in here tomorrow, and Brooke's 17, if Brooke walked in here tomorrow at 17 says, Daddy, I'm pregnant, I'd be like, well, okay, you're pregnant, I'm pissed off, I'm raging at the guy that done it, I'll kick his ass, and then obviously be raising at you, I'd be there to support her. But you need to understand that it's her baby, it's her responsibility, and she needs to learn how to be a mum. She can't expect Daddy to do everything for her. But again, you don't know what was going through the mind of that young girl whenever she done that horrible, horrible crime. And obviously she's just going to go away for a long time now. So she is. So, but bless that poor innocent baby. Obviously the baby didn't even ask to have that done to it. It's a horrible, horrible story. Moving on, guys. The band Steps, the successful band from back in the day. Do you remember that old band Steps that used to do all them hit songs? Like, they were like basically one of the hit boy bands, I was going to say, one of the hit girl and boy groups of back in the day. They were obviously a big name back then. They still are a pretty big name. Obviously, there's still a lot of them still about. They're in the news today saying that they've rejected a gig over a sexuality clause. The LGBTQ plus community is treated so horrendously. Listen to this here. Steps had turned down a show in Dubai over a contract clause regards sexuality, as band member H has said. The band were told that they're not allowed to mention sexuality if they were to play the gig in the Middle East. Now, we all know about the Middle East, about all their rules and regulations in relation to sexuality and marriage and stuff like that, but more on that in a second. The guy H, who is openly gay, said he was at the point in his life where morals were more important than a pot of gold money. He added he was emotional that he had not spoken up sooner and wished he had done to do so beforehand. So they've turned the gig down because of the LGBTQ community being treated as horrendously. Guys, we all know about over in them countries, the rules that they have about gays and about different religions. And I remember years ago, before one of my cousins got married to his actual wife now, they went to one of them countries to watch the Formula 1. And because they weren't married at the time, they weren't even allowed to hold hands in public. I don't even think they were allowed to stay in the same room as each other because they weren't married. They are very, very strict in those countries, the Middle East, with all these different rules. Like, was it the Middle East I saw years ago? Up until recently, women weren't even allowed to drive a car until recently, where they actually were recently allowed to drive a car. You know what I mean? Guys, I watch WWE wrestling, as you all know from listening to my podcast and my YouTube videos. Women weren't even allowed to compete in sports over there. WWE was one of the first ones to do it. Now, every time they go back to the likes of Saudi Arabia and all them other countries, the women are fully covered. They're not allowed to show any skin at all, bar their hands. You know, they still have very, very strict rules in those countries. And unfortunately, Steps have now seen that because of the LGBTQ plus whatever else they want to call it now. I mean, obviously I have my views on it. Like, so I was actually talking to a gay guy the other day about that. Good friend of mine actually ran into him the other day, and I asked him about it. And, I'll tell you about that in a sec. But the Steps have obviously nice. I don't want to do it now. And at the end of the day, you know what I mean. Everybody has their own way of living, and if you don't want to do it, anything, just don't do it. So that's the reason why they've done it. And obviously there's a lot of people online are talking about it and saying, oh, well, why you just go and say nothing, and it's a big gig we really want to see, you know. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen. So, but as I said, I ran into a gay friend of mine the other day, and I told him I would actually bring it up in this podcast, but I wouldn't give his name. And I said to him, like, I haven't seen him for about 3 or 4 years, and I said to him, like, oh, what's your view on all this LGBTQ stuff? Because obviously being a gay man. And he just looked at me and he went, Matthew, can I be honest with you? He says, it's doing my fucking head in. All these ones going around shoving flags in people's faces and, you know, using it as fuel to cause issues and stuff like that. He goes, you know me, I'm as open gay as anybody, you know what I mean? And I'm proud of being a gay man, but at the end of the day, this shit's pissing me off. He says, even my other friend who he works for a big firm in Belfast, and also flies back to Manchester quite a bit too as well. And he was telling me, like, one of his colleagues is a black person, and he says he's embarrassed about this whole BLM bullshit. You know what I mean? All this crap of like playing the race card and all this nonsense about BLM. He says it's actually really frustrating me and him. You know, he says, now don't get me wrong, he says, Matthew, I've been to 1 or 2 of them pride parades, but there's some of them are just so over the top, throwing it in people's faces constantly, and it's actually embarrassing as a gay man. And I'm like, really? Could I mention that in my podcast if you don't mind? And he goes, no, bring it up. He says, just don't say my name. I was like, not a problem. So speaking to a gay man, he said it irritates him. You know what I mean? It's just irritating. And again, you know, I know quite a few gay people, and some of them are like, you know, it's hard to explain this, and I don't want to come across as like being, because then obviously I'll probably get some fucking nut to email me now saying I'm all against gays and all now, which is just bullshit. The way you get those gay men that are like really sort of like really camp and really like, oh my god, hello, how are you, and all that. No. And then you get the ones who are just like normal men and are not all that extravagant and whatever else. They're just normal guys who are just gay, and that's it. I know a couple of guys who are obviously very camp and very open and whatever else. And I listen, for all the power to them. All the power in the world to you. You know, that's the way you are, that's the way you want to be. If that makes you feel happy and open and free, you knock it out of the park, away you go. But when it comes to people like my friend who ran the other day, he's not like that. He just looks like a normal working class guy. But if anybody says anything, oh yeah, I'm gay, I don't give a fuck. I'm gay. I'm what? I've got a partner. You know what I mean? He doesn't care. But I asked him about that LGBTQ thing, and he was like, oh, he says, it just pisses me off when I see all these fuckers on TV and they're doing everything, and he goes, all these groups are all set out to make money. That's what he said to me, and I looked at him and went, oh shit, right? You know what I mean? So we had a good discussion. So we did, and we exchanged numbers, and we're going to maybe meet up for a coffee one time. I said to him, look, listen, whenever you get a chance to get off over the summer or whatever, if you want to meet up for a coffee, bring your partner along, we'll all go out for a coffee. And he was like, yeah, definitely, sounds good. So, and then he was winding me up, and he was saying to me, like, have you not got yourself a woman yet? And I'm going, no. He goes, are you not in a relationship with anybody? And I went, no. And then he was asking about Sandra and stuff, and I just told him what happened. It just didn't work out, and I was obviously disappointed about it all the time, and at the time of the breakup and stuff like that, and whatever else. And he goes, and how long have you been on your own now? And I says, oh, quite a wee while now. And he was like, oh, for God's sake, he said, go out there and get yourself a good woman. And he was winding me up. He was just having he's just a laugh. So he is. But look, listen, guys, this thing about steps and all, it's just, if they're not comfortable doing it, then obviously they're not going to do it. So they're not. So, right, what else have I got for you today to talk about? I wrote down, oh yes, Aston Villa Football Club have announced a controversial shirt sponsorship deal on the front of their new shirt. They've announced a controversial shirt sponsor for the upcoming season that was previously ditched by another English football club after a fan revolt. I remember this, actually. They've signed apparently a 3-year deal with principal shirt sponsor with BK8, a gambling firm that people are saying online that are targeting the Asian market. It's called BK8's previous forte in the English football was a nightmare back in 2021 when they tried to sign a shirt sponsorship deal with Norwich City that apparently was, well, I remember this actually, it wasn't apparent, it was actually happening, I remember it was yesterday. They terminated it within a week. Having signed a 1-year deal worth £5 million, Norwich City were pressured to backtrack on the agreement after its fan base found BK8 using sexual images of women in social media promotions. So there you go. Aston Villa, I was doing a bit of research this morning on here, and I was having a look around online, and they are going nuts. Aston Villa fans are going nuts from most of the Birmingham area, area where Aston Villa play their football, because there's a lot of clubs around that area, like Birmingham, Aston Villa, and because of this here, there's a lot of Villa fans online going nuts. I've actually got another cousin who supports Aston Villa. I must actually send him a wee message or something to see how he feels about it. But yeah, I was searching on Instagram this morning. I was searching on Facebook this morning, just having a look around, just to see, is it really that controversial? And a lot of big top websites are sharing the information about it, and fans are going on to phone-ins and radio stations and saying it's a fucking disgrace. No, they shouldn't be saying. So yeah, there you go. Aston Villa's got a headache coming. Amazon. Amazon. I shop on Amazon. Do you shop on Amazon? I've bought loads of stuff on Amazon. Amazon's a great place to go and obviously do all the wee things that you need for the house. You find all the wee things. But one thing I must say to you is, guys, never shop on Amazon when you've had a drink. Because I have a friend of mine who does it all the fucking time. And when he's drunk, he purchases all this random shit. And then when it comes in delivery, he puts a photo of it on Facebook. And he's like, oh, drunken purchase again. And I'm going, fuck me. I know guys who actually work for Amazon, the delivery drivers and stuff. And I've had a cousin who recently worked for Amazon there about a year or so ago. But they're in the news today, or this week actually, entitled the following story: Amazon accused of knowingly duping millions of customers into signing up for Prime. The US company have accused Amazon of tricking customers into signing up for automatic renewal of their Prime subscriptions and making it difficult to cancel. Hell yeah, that happened to me one time. I'm not a Prime customer, but trying to get that fucking thing cancelled was an absolute nightmare. And trying to ring them, Jesus man, I remember actually having to stop an Amazon driver one day in my street. This was a long time ago, and I was like, mate, how the fuck did I get this cancelled? And he had to show me. So he did. So it says here the Federal Trade Commission, the country's consumer rights watchdog, made claims in a lawsuit. Apparently, a lot of customers are being charged when they shouldn't be charged into this Amazon Prime. Now I know Amazon Prime do an online streaming service as part of your Prime deal and all that there stuff, and when you have Prime you get next day delivery, sometimes the same day delivery, it just depends. But a lot of people are not very happy Amazon customers, and there's a big Amazon Prime sale coming up. I guess, is it July or is it this month? I can't even remember, but it's coming up anyway. And a lot of people are like, well, I'll not be fucking getting involved in it. There's bound to be some way where they're going to try and dupe us into an Amazon Prime membership, which a lot of people are not happy with. It's again, I remember that time I tried to get my membership cancelled. It was a fucking nightmare. So it was. But again, Amazon are in the news today and people are not happy. Are you an Amazon Prime customer? Have you been duped in yourself to doing this here? Well, let me know. I would like to hear from you. So I would. Here, do you know who saw on the news, or popped up on yesterday on social media, who I haven't seen for a while? Do you remember that wee fucking clown that we used to see on TV, especially during the COVID stuff and all, before that? That wee Swedish whinge bag, Greta Timber. Do you remember her? With her pigtails and this wee young girl who thinks she knew everything about the world, and she was one of these wee millennials who needed a good boot up her fucking hole and told to shut the fuck up because she's so irritating. Yeah, well, she's appeared back on the news again. Going on again about climate change, and she's standing like, no, them fucking morons we've been talking about for weeks, them oil protesters and all. She's saying here, the story was entitled, "Enjoy your final minutes. Greta Thunberg mocked after wipeout climate change prediction falls flat." She was saying about all these predicted things were going to happen and stuff like that, and it's all never happened, and she's fell flat in her face, basically. She's been ruthlessly mocked after her wipeout climate change prediction failed recently. She's now 20, this wee girl. She's an activist. She's been going on for years about, humanity on social media. In 2018, she's obviously done all these different things. Did I actually see her being arrested recently as well? I can't remember. But this wee girl is now getting slated online. I haven't seen her. She's been probably hiding under a rock somewhere. I don't even know. I don't even follow what she does. But she is getting slated online. She's really annoying. Like, really annoying. So she is in the way she's just one of them irritating millennials who just need to be told, darling, be quiet. You're still a puppy. You should be enjoying your life more instead of standing there like them Looney Tunes, them oil protesters who are standing on the side of. And here, speaking of them oil protesters, did you see it the other day? I don't know why you saw it or not, but school kids now are getting fucking pissed off with these lunatics. I saw school kids, like kids 15, 16-year-olds, going up, and these oil protesters were blocking the buses from getting to school, and the kids took it amongst themselves. Now, I don't promote kids to do anything violent, whatever, but they took it upon themselves to get off the bus, walk up to them fucking morons who are trying to like glue themselves to the road or whatever else, and covering themselves in the oil, orange stuff, whatever the fuck it is, and they were ripping their signs out of their hands, screaming at them, "We want to go to school. Can you move and let us get to school?" Like in recent weeks, they've been blocking the England cricket team bus. They've been doing things on bridges. They've been going to the Chelsea Garden Show, the snooker championship they were doing, horse racing where horses and horses had to get put down because of it. And now the younger generation, well, the ones who are sensible, because I'm not saying, again, I've said this before, not all ones in this generation are as bad as the wee fuckers who are out there causing trouble all the time. But fair play to these young ones for getting up and going, you know something? We want to go to school. We want to get an education. Get off the fucking road, you lunatic. Go and get yourself a job like we're trying to do when we get out of school. Instead of standing there with your crappy fucking signs and being funded by GoFundMe pages from rich people and don't do anything with your life. Get the fuck off the road and let people get to work. Let us get to school. Let us get out and live. And fair play to those kids. I applaud them. I really, 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 really do. Fair play to them. It was nice. It was good to see the kids standing up and saying, right, I'm not putting up with this crap. I want to go to school. And fair play to them. You know what I mean? So, unbelievable. What else have I got for you today? Let's have a look through my notes here now and see. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about Meghan Markle again, but I've already talked about Harry today. I'm not going to talk about that balloonhead, so I'm not. Oh yes, Phillips apparently has popped up, has appeared in the first time in the public eye in the last month or so. Remember we were talking about that for the last couple of weeks about Phillips Schofield. There's talk of him now apparently going to Talk TV. You know that programme where you see Jeremy Kyle, moron, Piers Morgan, moron, on those things. And apparently he's on his way there. So that's what I was reading 4 or 5 days ago. He's in negotiation with them. Not surprised. When I talked about this the other day, I was going to mention it today again. I think I did talk about it on Tuesday. About these kids nowadays dropping teachers in trouble because of their way they're wanting to be known as now. I saw a fucking cracker story about that the other night where this school in England where people were saying the teachers were getting in shit because they refused to teach a child because a child was wanting to be known as the following. Listen to this. They wanted to be recognised as a cat or a dog or a dinosaur. One particular child would only speak to the teacher when it was meowing like a cat. And I was like, are you fucking serious? And the teacher got himself in trouble because the teacher stood up and went, I'm not teaching a person like that. Not a chance. So I was watching, what was I watching the other night? Yeah, I was watching a guy on a talk show the other night on GB News, and he turned around to the presenter and goes, "Do you know what I'd do if I was the teacher or if I was the parent?" I'd be like, "Right, okay. So you want to be known as a cat, do you? You fucking lunatic. Well, you're going to go into the wee cage where the wee cat box things. You can go and sleep on one of them. For your dinner, I'll give you a bowl of Whiskers cat food and a bowl of milk. Whenever me and your mummy jet off to go on holiday for 2 weeks, we're going to put you in a cat sanctuary where you can spend 2 weeks in there." And he says, "I guarantee you now by tea time, they'll not be known as a fucking cat anymore. They'll be back to being a human being again." These young ones are poisoned with all this crap. Poisoned. Oh, be whatever you want to be. Like, Lewis said to me as a joke the other day, he goes, "Daddy, there was a wee fella in our school and he got himself in a lot of trouble for it because the teacher told him to wind his neck in. He's told his teacher that he wanted to be identified now as a fucking helicopter." In my day, the teacher would have looked at you and went, "Oh, a helicopter? You can fly, can you? Right, let's see how far you can fly when I fuck you out that window for being a disrespectful, cheeky wee shit. Let's see if you can fly. Come on, out the window." These young ones going around now saying there's more than two genders, and there was another one person from the news out there as well. There's more people actually, more men now turning into women than what women are turning into men. So there is, and all this lunacy is it lunacy you call it, or lunatics, I don't know. This madness needs to stop. These kids going around identifying as a cat, a dog, a dinosaur. What do you walk down the corridor in school going rah, rah, like fucking Peppa Pig, the wee boy George with his dinosaur? Dinosaur, rah. Like seriously, what planet do you live on? And some of these people are encouraging kids to do this. Listen, they're fucking children. Wind your neck in. If I tell you what, because I'm only going to speak to you like a cat, I'd look at the child, and go, "Are you? What does your mum feed you in the morning? Drugs? Like, what planet were you born on? Or what planet are you wired up to?" And fair play to that teacher for turning around saying that they're not going to teach a child. But that guy was brilliant. "I'm going to give you a bowl of Whiskers for your dinner, a bowl of milk to drink with. I'm going to put you in your wee cat cage." And another thing he says as well is, "I'm going to put you out at night sometimes. I'm going to bring you back in at 6 o'clock in the morning like I do my normal cat. And whenever me and your mummy go away on holiday, we're going to put you in a cat sanctuary watch for 2 weeks while we go away on holiday," which you're not going by because you want to be identified as a cat. Fair play to him. These kids nowadays, some of them are, there's a lot of confusion. And I was actually, going back to my conversation I talked about at the start of this podcast from last night, I was talking to my friend's sister about it. Kids nowadays have so much pressure put on them now with the likes of social media, the platforms like fucking lunatic TikTok, crazy Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all the influencers that are out there. And I've got a big story actually about an influencer just popped into my head. I actually forgot to write it down for the podcast. I should have. All these pressures that they have put on them because of social media. Like, they have to be dressed a certain way. They have to be, the pressures. Even I remember a couple of years ago, some of the stuff my daughter was going through, where she was like saying, "Oh, Daddy, I have to dress this way because if I don't dress this way, I get laughed at." Look, listen, when I went to school back in the 80s and 90s, it was all about the type of shoes you wore. Levi jeans. If you didn't wear a pair of proper Levi jeans, you were classed as a tramp, and your mum and dad shop in fucking Primark, you're a tramp. Listen, most people fucking shop in Primark now. You know what I mean? And it's always a generational thing, but nowadays it's more pressure because of what they see on social fucking media and all the crap that they're reading and all the crap that they're watching. And the kids nowadays, in my opinion, are confused. They're confused and they're going, "Oh, am I really like this or am I really like that? I don't have to be this. I can be that because this person does it now." Look, listen, I've always taught my kids when they were small, you be who you be, not what you see online. Not what you see online. Because at the end of the day, you be your own person. And that's what I always tell my kids. And if one of my kids were to walk in tomorrow and say, "Oh, Dad, I'm gay," or "Oh, Dad, I'd be like, okay. But at the end of the day, they'll be their own person. And I would never stop them from being their own person. But nowadays, kids are just too... There's so much pressure put on them with social media. And it's really, really, really... It'd be so frustrating to be a teenager in this generation. But seeing that the other day about that child wanting to be known as a cat, And I'm like, fucking hell, man. But that guy's response was quality. Oh, you want to be a cat? Here's a bowl of whiskers for your dinner. Oh, but Dad, you and Mum were having whatever. I don't give a shit. You want to be a cat? There you go. I thought it was fucking brilliant. But again, listen, it's just this generation. I sit back now and I look at this generation, and there's a lot of good kids out there, but there's ones out there who are just confused about who they are as a person and about their sexuality and everything else. And I'm just like, I feel so sorry for them. So I do. But anyway, crazy times. I was actually going to mention this at the start of the podcast, but I totally forgot even to write it down. It was in my head before I pushed record today. This is actually a big story, guys, and I wanted to talk about it. You all probably know who Andrew Tate is. Yeah, this I call him a moron. I don't like him. I think he's a narcissistic, egotistical moron. I was at Brooke and Lewis's school last week for a meeting with Lewis's teachers, and his name was brought up in the conversation, and she was saying to me about a lot of young men, young lads in the school are being influenced by this guy in the wrong way, about the way they speak to women, about the way they come across themselves, and they're becoming very argumentative because of the way he's feeding all this crap to these kids. Now, as you all know, we talked about this before, Andrew Tate was in jail in Romania being charged with all these different charges. He was released, he's on home arrest. He done a recent interview there with the BBC, which he ripped the girl to shreds. And again, you know how I feel about the BBC. But again, disrespecting women that way is horrible. But I didn't watch it all. But then he done an hour interview for like 5 hours, which I only watched about 20 minutes of it because I was doing a bit more research on him. Because recently, Lewis has been bringing him up to me. And I'm like, no, I don't want Lewis watching that crap. I don't want him anywhere near that crap. And, you know, Lewis comes to me all the time about all these big ideas he has what he wants to do when he's older, which is okay, I'll encourage him if that's what he wants to do, it's fine. But he keeps bringing up this guy, Tate, and then, you know, I've never been a big follower of him or anything like that. And then if you do know who he is, he's banned on all platforms, on social media, where was he barred from? Was it Facebook or something like that? I can't remember. It was one of the platforms he's not banned from. This guy, in my opinion, is a fucking lunatic. Now, he's been arrested again the other day, and he's being charged with his brother to face a trial in Romania on sex trafficking, rape on women, and a lot more. And I've been saying to Lewis, or even Brooke said to me, Daddy, I've caught Lewis watching some of his motivational speeches on YouTube on his phone. I mean, oh, have you? So I had a sit down chat with Lewis, and I said, if I catch you watching him again, I will literally break your phone. I will smash everything you have. I'll take it away, and you will not watch YouTube again. Guys, even discussing with the school recently about that, there's a lot of young ones who have come out recently and said, oh yeah, but Andrew Tate said this, and Andrew Tate said that. So I started doing a bit of digging online, and there's been a lot of young ones' parents posting stuff on the likes of forum boards and chats on social media and stuff and saying, this guy is a fucking bad influencer. He's a moron, the way he treats people. I went back and done a bit of research on some of the quotes that people were saying and looked at some videos online of what he had to say about women and about the way he treats people. And guys, my opinion is he's a dick. It's as simple as that. I don't like him. I think he's a narcissistic creep. What he says about people. Now, there is some points that he has brought up. Obviously, I've talked about COVID and stuff like that on the podcast here briefly. Obviously, I don't want to say too much because you know what it's like with the fucking trolls. They start ripping their hair out and their medication wears off. You actually watch their medication stop working as they hear me talk. You know what I mean? They go mental and they start going nuts and torturing me on social media. You're a conspiracy theorist. Okay, whatever. He did make some good points about that, but I agree with him. But when it comes to the main stuff, like, no. I think he's a bad influence. Now, he's up in charges now, guys. He's potentially facing a long time in jail here. And I said this, before this was announced the other day in the news, I sat Lewis down after I spoke to him at the school, and I said to him, like, Lewis, I'm telling you now, I catch you watching this guy again, and I swore, like, I will literally go through you. You will never watch YouTube again until you're at least an adult. I will take your phone off you. I will break it instantly on the spot. I will take away your PlayStation. I will take away your computer monitors, your TVs. You will not watch him. Simple. Because he is a bad influence on people. He is feeding people negative information. And now, literally a few days later, he was arrested. And I said, Lewis, I'm sure all your friends in school have brought it up, but he's been arrested on these charges. And apparently there's loads of evidence out there against him. And Lewis' response was, but my friend in school said that the evidence did not stand and there's not enough at me. Lewis, I don't care about your friends. If his parents let him watch that or her watch it, go ahead. You're not watching it, because I've done a lot of research on this guy. I don't want my son being influenced by a scumbag like that. Simple. I think he's a dick. And I don't care what anybody says. I think he's a dick. He's an arrogant, narcissistic fool who thinks that everything is all about him. And I watched the other day him coming out of a building with his brother coming down these electric steps, and the way he was saying, like, oh, I love Romania and I'm going to stay here longer. Yeah, no wonder, because you're going to their fucking jail, that's why. Some of that interview I watched with the girl online with the BBC, I think I watched it on YouTube actually, and just the way he was, like, the way he comes across, he's so arrogant and so loves himself, and I'm like, and then he was talking about having babies and having kids, and then all the things that he was saying, and then he was talking about women, and then he was talking about the trial, and he was talking about this, but now apparently they've got evidence. Now, whether it's strong evidence and whether he's going to go away for it, I do not know. But at the end of the day, if he's found guilty, like sex trafficking, raping women, and there's a couple of other charges apparently there as well, that's quite serious, guys, and it looks like he's going to be doing a bit of time. But again, if he does get off and he's proved not guilty, I still won't let Lewis watch him, because I think he is just a clown. And I've seen people like that come down the road for years and years and years, and then the next minute they're behind bars, or they're dead, or something's happened to them. And I don't want my kids being influenced by people like that. Even Brooke said to me, Daddy, even the look of him turns me. And I went, well, Brooke, it'll not be happening anymore. You know what I mean? And when I had that chat with the school last week about it, I was saying to them, and they were like, no, listen, we are very, very, very strict rules. Even if we see a child on a phone in school with him on the phone, like watching him, we automatically take the phone and tell the parents, because of the things that it's the young lads, especially the influence that he's putting into them, and I don't want that happening to my kids. So we both agreed on that terms, and even Lewis sat in the room and he was like, but Daddy, he's not as bad as what you said to me. Lewis, I'm telling you now in front of witnesses, in front of your head of year, and there was another teacher there as well with me, you watch him and you will be punished highly, as in grounded. You'll have no phone, no TV, no PlayStation, because I don't want you watching people like that. Bad influences. And he's not the only one out there, guys, online. They're influencing young ones. All this crap. Just there's a touch about there a couple of minutes ago. Kids are getting confused of how to live and what way to be, because of people like Andrew Tate and people on there who are confusing kids to be a certain way, and they don't have to be this. Go and do this and do that instead, and then they get themselves in trouble. So, but I just thought I'd bring that up anyway. I should have brought it actually up at the start of the podcast, because it's one of the big major stories this week. But again, he's not really a concern of mine. Right, I'm going to open up my computer now here and get some of these lovely emails and messages from you guys, because I love doing that. And then I'll do the jackass of the week for this week as well. So let's get into the emails here. Okay, I'll go into the emails first of all here. So that's Moore Army Podcast at yahoo.com, guys, if you ever want to get in touch. Right, I've got one here from Michelle. Michelle says, hello Matthew, thank you for taking time to read my email. I live in Exeter in England, and just thought I would share this story with all your listeners. Back in 2020, during the COVID supposed, puts in brackets, pandemic, I lost my mum and dad, both who were in a care home here in Exeter. It was absolutely disgusting how we were treated, and we were not allowed to see my mum and dad right up until their final days. I've been recently keeping a track on the COVID investigation on television, and I recently saw that other balloon head who you make fun of regularly, Chris Whitty. Watching those clowns again and reading of those clowns again really brought back bad times for me during the COVID pandemic, supposedly. To put some brackets again, before pandemic, which is quite good actually. Very well put. She says, when I see those scumbags, they make me sick to my stomach, because they let my mum and dad die in a home and we never got to say goodbye. Even at Dad's funeral, They wouldn't even let us go near the coffin because of COVID restrictions, which I thought was absolutely disgusting, but we just told the people where to go. I just wanted to share my story with you and your listeners, because at the end of the day, every time I see those people on TV, they make me sick to my stomach, and I wish I could turn back the clock of time and bring back my mum and dad, because they were left to die and we weren't even allowed to see them, which broke all of our hearts. Thank you for your time to read this email. I hope it finds you in good health. Enjoy your podcast every week. Enjoy them more recently, especially now that you're more unleashed compared to the family friendly. No offence to the ones who enjoyed the family friendly podcast. Thank you for taking the time for reading this. Take care, Michelle. There you go. Yeah, I would agree. There's a COVID investigation fucking crap going on at the minute, and it's just doing my tits in. And I saw that fucking beady-eyed out moron, Mr. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Chris Whitty, the man who doesn't blink. Oh, sorry, they're calling him Sir Chris Whitty now. Did they give him a knighthood or something, didn't they? I tell you where they could stick that. Oh, I would actually go over to him. I would take a quote from a wrestler I saw on TV, what he said to Logan Paul the other day if I met Chris Whitty. I would take up a folded bit of paper and go, "Here you are, Chris. There's a map." And he goes, what's that for? I'll say, that's a map for you to take all your restrictions. It leads you to where you can take all your restrictions and all that stuff, and it leads to the place where you can actually stick it straight up your ass. So, toodle on there, Mr. Whitty. Yeah, it was. I'm sure it was a horrible time for you. Obviously, your mum and dad both being at home at the time and stuff, and seeing both of them, pass away. And I remember that the restrictions of funerals and stuff, it was fucking joke. And here, speaking of that there, obviously you're from England, but here in Northern Ireland that time, like, I'm not political, I don't care where the fuck you're from over here, whether you're from one side of the community or the other. That whole controversy about the people weren't allowed to go to their family funerals and stuff like that, but then the time there was one of them political fucking funerals in Belfast, and there was thousands in the streets, but people like this girl who just emailed me couldn't even go near her own father's coffin. One set of rules for one set of rules for the other, as I always say. And that was really a frustrating time. Really was. Oh, you can't go near the coffin because of COVID. Everything was about COVID. It was bullshit. So it was. Bullshit. But I'm really sorry to hear about your parents passing away. I really do. And again, I'm actually going to reply to that girl and send her a wee message back just to let her know I'm thinking about her and stuff. So sad. So it is so sad. So it is. But my regards to you and your family, because I'm sure that time as well, and again, you use the term scumbags. They are all scumbags. All them lies that they fed us and all that crap that they fed us. Load of nonsense. And then sure, man, Willie was making all his excuses the other day. I was reading his report thing he put out and stuff, and I was like, aye, dead on. He's just trying to hide back under his rock again because he knows he couldn't get his own way, and he couldn't. If it was up to him, he'd have us locked up forever. This is a man who doesn't even have kids, doesn't even have a girlfriend, lives in a wee one-bedroom flat in London, and looks like an alien. He looks like fucking Roger from American Dad. And he's just a weird, creepy wee man who doesn't blink and just says, next slide, please. Next slide, please. But that's just my opinion on him. Anyway, thanks for your email, Darren. I appreciate it. And I hope you and your family and the rest of your family are all keeping well. And thank you for taking your time to listen to the podcast, to listen to me spout a load of crap every week. Appreciate it. Really do appreciate it. Right, let's have another way to Kira. I had another email here. Right, what have I got here? One here from Ewan. Hope I pronounced that right. Is it Ewan or Eugene? Ewan. I think it's Ewan. It's not Eugene. I don't know why I said Eugene. Ewan. Okay. Ewan says, "Hi Matthew, I've got a question on you regarding food." Okay. "I've recently qualified full-time as a chef, and I've started my first full-time job as a chef. I just wanted to know what your favourite food would be in a restaurant." So you just qualified. Happy days. Well done. Congratulations. Listen to the podcast now for a couple of months. Really enjoy it. I love it whenever you go on a rant about different people, because I think it's quite funny, especially when you lose your rag about certain individuals, not including Harry and Meghan. As I said, I've just recently qualified full-time as a chef. I'm working on my first full-time job at a restaurant, and I absolutely love it. It's long hours, but it's very, very rewarding, as I have a passion for food. So my question to you once again is, what is your favourite food in a restaurant? Thanks for taking your time to read my email. Ewan. Is it Ewan? It's not Eugene, it's Ewan. Yeah. My favourite food in a restaurant. It depends what type of restaurant that I'm in. If it was to go into a normal type restaurant, it would probably be, well, saying that there, the restaurant I go to in Bangor here across the road from me, which I've seen many a vlog in, I would get a load of different stuff. I like a good steak. Now, I must say, I do like a good steak. I had a really good steak there a few weeks ago. And then I was actually out at a hotel having dinner there about 2 weeks ago. And I was in, what did I have that night? God, I can't even remember now. Oh, I had a big burger type thing, but this was made a certain way. It was unbelievable. And I had the soup as well. It was just like, oh my God, it's so good. But I had I do like chicken, but I do like a good steak. I really do like a good steak. In fact, I'm actually going to make myself a nice rump steak for dinner tonight, because I got some rump steaks in the freezer, and I'm going to make myself a lovely big juicy steak tonight. But anyway, yes, congratulations on your new job, qualifying full-time as a chef. You know, you're doing the public good by keeping mouths fed. So you are. So well, good luck in your new full-time job. And yes, I understand it's long hours, because I've worked in kitchens before when I was young. And trust me, I worked as kitchen porters and all too as well. And I'll tell you what, the hours are long. And it's long days, and you're tired, and you know, it's just, I know a guy who lives next to me who is a chef, and he worked with Brooke, and he works long hours too. He's been chefing fucking 20 odd years. I know a few other people who are chefs too as well, and they work their ass off. Have a good life because of all their hard work, but they've worked their ass off for it. So listen, good luck in your new job, and thanks for your email. I do appreciate it. Right, we'll do one more email, and then I'm going to go into the old social media. So yeah, right, I'll look here and see. You send me so many emails sometimes, guys, I can't get through them all. So, right, I've one here from William. Okay, William says, "Hi Matthew, I'm a new listener to your podcast, and I must say I thoroughly enjoy it. It's quite fun. I've got a few boys from my work who work for me, all listening to your podcast too. I've said to them to send you emails and messages on social media, but I don't think they do, because I don't think they want their name read out on the air." Okay, fair enough. Send me their names and I'll read them out. I'm only joking. He goes on here to say, just wanted to let you know I love the podcast every single week. We love listening to you. It's good to hear you rant and rave about everything and speak the truth and speak your mind. I've never watched any of your YouTube videos. I just came across your podcast while searching through Spotify one day, and I thought, let's give this guy a go. And I did, and I enjoy listening to you, because you take no nonsense, no bullshit, and you call a spade a spade. And most importantly, you answer emails from fans all across the board, which we love to hear. Just wanted to say thank you for all the good listening hours so far, and I look forward to what you have to talk about in the future. Have a great summer, and thank you for your podcast. There you go. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. It's great. I send me their names. Like, really, seriously, send me their names and I'll read them out. I'll embarrass them. I love it. It's so much fun. I actually got a message back. Remember, guys, a few weeks ago, there was it a hairdresser's, and where were they from? Belfast or something? Sent me an email a few weeks ago and said that to have the podcast on sometimes in the salon. And I got a message from one of the girls was it one of the girls or was it one of the customers on Instagram messaged me saying that they heard it, and they said that they enjoyed listening to it because there's no filter and I don't give a shit what I say, and I just call a spade, but pretty much. And did he? And I can't remember the name of that wee salon. I did say to them I would maybe call in. Was it? I don't even think it was Belfast. I can't even remember, but I always remember. But I got that message about a week ago on Instagram. I remember reading it with a big smile on my face, because I was sitting actually with Lewis at mum and dad's, and Lewis was like, "What are you laughing at?" And I just says, this salon place who plays my podcast apparently, and I don't know why it's a customer or whatever, just turned around and said that they love it because they love what I have to say. You know what I mean? But listen, guys, that's the whole part of this podcast. It's all about building a community and like talking to different people and hearing different stories, and you know what I mean? And again, I just love hearing from you. It's the fact that people actually take the time out of their day to even go onto a social media platform or an email just to say hello and share their stories and whatnot. I love it. I absolutely fucking love it. I love listening to you every single week. You know, I probably have a bigger audience on here now than what I did when I worked on a community radio station, because I get more emails on this than what I did then. You know what I mean? And I for a good few years ago there, I was actually considering going back to community radio again. But could you imagine me being with a leash around my neck and can't say what I want to say, really, if I'm reading out stories about the news or something like that? It's not going to happen. I think I would lose my rag now because I'm just so free on this podcast. It's great. But anyway, Thank you for your email once again. Right, let's get into social media. So let's get on to the old Instagram-io, first of all. By the way, as you all know, I work on local football, guys. A lot of you follow me on Instagram. And a lot of you say you love watching my stuff in football. We have our football clubs recently set up a social media page for Instagram. So if you want to give them a wee follow, just search Welders FC. Give them a wee follow on Instagram for me. I would appreciate it. Any football fans out there? Started putting up some stuff like that there on it as well. So, right, let's get into some of the old message requests. I love hearing from all using message requests. Right, here we go. First one today is from Luke. Yes. What's his last name? And it just tells his handle. Luke wants to know. Hi Matthew. Just wanted to ask you a quick question. Are you missing the football season being finished? It's driving me insane not being able to watch Manchester United play every week now. I know pre-season's just around the corner, but it's driving me insane. I see you're still involved with pre-season and doing other things during the summer to keep yourself busy in your football life. Are you not looking forward to getting back to Anfield next season to see Liverpool play? Ha ha ha. You're in the Europa League. Okay, look. Yes, I am looking forward to getting back to Liverpool next season. Can't wait. Some of you were being really sarcastic and funny about the vlog I put out the other day. Actually, when I turned around and told people that I'm not getting the Liverpool tickets, I'm tired of telling. A lot of you were being funny and sending me messages on Instagram and Facebook saying, "Here, Matthew, I just wanted to see if I could get the Liverpool tickets." You fuckers. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back. So I can't wait. Unfortunately, you support Manchester United, so we'll say no more about that. But no, I'm looking forward to getting back. Yes, we are in the Europa League this year. I'm looking forward to seeing some Europa League football next season at Anfield. Get to see the new stand as well at Anfield, the new Anfield Road stand, which is looking incredible at the minute. But yeah, even pre-season here. I mean, our first pre-season match wasn't even supposed to be on Wednesday night, but we took it on to help out Lauren prepare for the Champions League. They're the Champions League qualifiers over here in Northern Ireland. So, yeah, it's good to get back to pre-season. They're playing next Saturday, which we're not going to be here because we're going to be in London. But yeah, it's good to get back. It's a new season, fresh slate. You know, try and get some new faces into the squad. We're going to be pushing for trying to get up the top of the table this year. It's going to be interesting. I do like our last competitive match here in Northern Ireland was the 29th of April, and we're nearly in July. So the time goes by so quickly. So it does. Pre-season just flies by, and then the next minute, you know, bang, you're kicking off a new season again. So, but I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I'm looking forward to getting back to football. So I am, because it's been a long time being off. A couple of weeks off in football is like a lifetime. So it is. But again, the boys obviously need a rest. So they do. So let's have a look here now. Thanks for your message. I do appreciate it. Okay, this next one's from Lindsay on Instagram. She says, "Hi Matthew, hope you're keeping well. Just wanted to ask you a quick question. Are you a fan of UFC fighting? Myself and my husband have been watching UFC for years and are massive fans. We even attended UFC in London recently and absolutely loved it. Just wanted to ask you, if you are a UFC fan, who is your favourite fighter of all time? Also, I've noticed recently a lot of videos floating around online of Conor McGregor. Some of his really strange, weird behaviour. Do you think he's okay, or do you think there's maybe something going on in his life at the minute? He just seems not his usual arrogant, cocky self. He just seems very weird and odd. Myself and my husband noticed this, especially if some videos were floating around on TikTok of him the last few months. I don't know why you've seen this yourself, but I just wanted to ask you anyway. If you are a big fighter UFC fan, let us know what your favourite UFC fight of all time is." That's from Lindsay. Okay. Can I be honest with you? I watch UFC now and again. I'm not a big fan of it. I do watch it. You know, I've watched it like when it first came around, flipped me all those years ago. I remember watching the early UFC days and stuff, and then now obviously it's become this big juggernaut. It's recently signed an agreement to merge with WWE under this new company name. Yes, I've watched a lot of fights. If I had a favourite fighter, I wouldn't really have one, to be quite honest. But in relation to the Conor McGregor videos, funny enough you mentioned that, I've saw a few floating around on like YouTube Reels and on Facebook, and all. He's just there's just something different about him. I don't know why he's over pushing himself or he's overdoing it or whatever, but again, you know what Conor McGregor's like. He's arrogant. He loves himself. He just loves to be centre of attention, and I don't know. It's just a bit strange. But I'm not a massive fan of UFC. But I would watch it now and again. Yeah. My brother would be more into UFC than what I would be. But at the end of the day, I'm not a massive fan of it. So I'm not. And again, my favourite fighter, it's hard to pick one really, isn't it? Everybody always says, because you're from Northern Ireland or Ireland, you should pick Conor McGregor. He's not really one of my favourite fighters, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, I've seen a few of them odd videos floating around of him recently, and I was sort of looking at it going like, it's a bit strange. He's just not as normal himself. But thanks for your email. I mean, you say you and your husband are at the last show in London, the O2, I think they held it. That's where me and Liz are going next weekend, the O2. So, yeah, I watched bits and pieces of that show as well. But I remember years ago, about 10 years ago, I would make a point to sit up and watch it live, or I would watch it the next day. And then obviously with work all the time and whatever else and kids, and you just drift away from it. But obviously from what reading in your email here, yourself and your husband are big fans. So, but thanks for your message. I do appreciate it. Right, I'll do one more on Instagram, then I'll jump over to Facebook, because I haven't done Facebook for a while actually. Right, let's have a wee scroll down the old Instagram again. So here we go. Here's one here. This one is from Johnny Belfast. Johnny from Belfast, sorry. Johnny says, "Hi Matthew, mate. Johnny here from Belfast. Just wanted to let you know that I love your podcast and love all your videos. It was my young son who brought me attention to your YouTube channel. Being a single dad like yourself, it is tough. I have 2 boys who drive me mad sometimes, but they're good kids, and I wouldn't change them for the world. I've started listening to your podcast in my car on my way to work, most Tuesdays and Thursdays, or sometimes the day after, depending if I get a chance to listen to it, but I absolutely love it. Can I ask you as well, do you by any chance know personally any other of the podcasters or comedians here in Northern Ireland, the likes of Colin Geddes, Shane Todd and more? I've been to see Colin Geddes at the SSE Arena recently, and it was absolutely amazing. He seems like yourself, a very normal, down-to-earth guy who managed to get himself a big break, and fair play to him. It's good to see people in this country get a break and be recognised for all their hard work. Thanks for taking the time to read my message. Keep her going, keep working hard, and your kids should be proud of you, as my kids tell me all the time they're proud of me." And that's from Johnny in Belfast. Well, Johnny, it is hard being a single dad though, isn't it? But knowing them more guys personally, no, I don't. I got to see Shane Todd last summer for the first time at that Camp Dalfest thing I was at, and I got to basically just say hello, and that was it. But they seem like a good bunch of lads. Colin Geddes is hilarious. I remember watching Colin Geddes when he first came around, doing those videos, I Am Fighter. They were hilarious. Trying to be a country boy, pretend to try to be a UFC fighter. Guys, even that last girl, I got the message from Lindsay, go online to YouTube and type in I Am Fighter. A big country boy from down the country here in Northern Ireland thinks he's hard as nails and thinks he's going to be a big UFC fighter. Watch those videos. You will piss your pants with laughter. And that's where he gets started. I don't know them personally. No, I don't, Johnny. Would I like to get to know them? If they seem like a good bunch of lads, yeah. Maybe one day, I don't know. But again, your man Shane Todd has a podcast. He does his, what's it called, T for 3 or something, or T for me or something it's called. And he's doing quite well because, obviously he's in that sort of circle with all them comedians and stuff. So he obviously gets them on all the time for guests and whatnot. And he's got a sponsor as well, and he's doing quite well for himself. But that's him. And then obviously Colin Geddes has his podcast as well, which is quite good, which is a video podcast available to watch too as well, which we're hoping to get planned to get set up here for a video podcast. But no, don't know them personally. But thanks for your message, Johnny, appreciate it, and good luck with the 2 boys. And tell them I said thank you for bringing my YouTube channel to your attention. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much, mate. Right, I'll do one on the old Facebook, and then I'm going to go and do Jackass of the Week, because I've been sitting here spouting for a while. I'm actually feeling a lot better now after talking here compared to what I did at the start of this podcast, because I sounded groggy as shit, and now I feel a wee bit better. I'm going to get another coffee after I push the stop button, because I do need another coffee, because I am up bright and early tomorrow, so I want to sort of get through the rest of this day and get an early night tonight, because I'm off away tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. No children tomorrow, peace and quiet for me, happy days. Anyway, right, I'll go on to the old Facebook here, and let's see what I've got on Facebook. Let's have a look here and see. Right, one here from, is it Terrence or Terrence? Terrence on Facebook has said, "Hi Matthew, big fan of your YouTube channel." He goes on here quite a bit actually from before I went to read this here. He says, "I watched your YouTube channel religiously until back in 2019. I unfortunately got myself into a bit of trouble and ended up having to spend a bit of time in jail." Okay. "I was put away for doing something so stupid, which I regret. I spent 1.5 years in jail for my troubles. I don't want to go into too much detail, as I don't want to get myself in further trouble explaining what I done. Don't worry, it was nothing serious. It was just me being a young, stupid boy. But I used to watch your videos every single day until I obviously went away. I've started rewatching all the videos from back whenever I last started watching you, and then came across your new podcast, which I think is great. I love listening to it every single week, and I thought I would try and get a message to you to say thank you for helping me through my bad times. Unfortunately, when I was in jail back in 2019, I was not allowed to watch any YouTube videos at all. It was so frustrating because I watched yourself and other people too as well, which helped me get through my day. But unfortunately, me being a silly young boy at 18 at the time, I made a big stupid mistake and I ended up getting myself 1.5 years in jail. As I said, it wasn't obviously too serious, so it's nothing really to worry about. I've since then gained an employment and a new job. I've got myself a new place to live. I'm working hard and hopefully trying to turn my life back around. I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to read this message, and thank you for giving me years of entertainment up until my day of being stupid. I hope to one day meet you in person, and thank you for everything that you've done for me. I do struggle with a lot of mental health problems as well, but I've recently started attending a specialist to help me with that, because I don't want to go down a road where I even consider taking my own life, because I always listen to you and you tell me all the time that life is for living, and I take that in my stride every single day. I know this message is quite long. Yeah, it is, but I love it. Thank you for writing this, by the way. I know this message is long, but I just thought I would tell you my story, as I know you enjoy listening to your viewers and your listeners' stories every single week. Thank you for taking your time to read my message. I really do appreciate it, and I hope one day to shake your hand and thank you personally. My good God. Wow. I always seem to get that's about 3 or 4 weeks in a row now I've been getting this. Young man, what can I say? You've held your hands up. Now, you didn't say exactly what you did, but obviously you've spent 1.5 years in jail. You've obviously made a big mistake in your life, which again, we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect in this world. And at the end of the day, you've held your hands up. You've done your time. You've admitted what you've done wrong. You said to me there in that message as well, you're struggling with mental health. You've took action on that. You went to see someone. You're getting your mental health sorted out, which is great. You know, because once you started mentioning mental health, I thought, I'm going to have to probably tell you to go and get some help. But you say there in your message that you did, which is great. And I love hearing that. The fact that you've actually done that. The fact that you said you watched us every day up until you made that mistake, and then you obviously went back to watch more of what we've been up to since then. Like that's I don't even know what to say about that. But the fact that you realise your mistakes, you've held your hands up, you're like, right, okay, I shouldn't have done this. Whatever it is you've done, you said it's not that serious, but obviously it's serious enough to get you like 18 months in jail or whatever, or many months it is in jail. But at the end of the day, you've accepted that, and I hope and pray for your sake that this is the lesson that's taught you, and you're now on the right road to obviously getting yourself back on track again. You said you've got yourself a job, which is great. You got yourself an apartment, which is great. And at the end of the day, certainly, if I ever meet you in person one day, I'll shake your hand and I'll say to you, young man, you made a mistake. You've held your hands up. You know, and I hope and pray that that's learnt you that lesson and has taught you that lesson to say, right, I don't want to go back there again. Because, listen,
I went to school with people like that who repeatedly committed crimes all the time, and they were in and out of jail all the time, and they weren't given the right advice, and they were hanging around with the wrong people and stuff. But you seem, from what you've said in your message here, you took the right steps by getting help with your mental health and getting yourself a job and getting yourself an apartment and realising what your mistakes were, and you've held your hands up, and now you've contacted me and made it public where I've read it out to everybody. Like the amount of people that listen to this podcast every week on Spotify and Apple Music, and not so many on YouTube at the minute, but that'll grow hopefully. The amount of people who we get a big audience on Spotify and TuneIn Radio and Apple Music every week, and then people now know your story, and the fact that you've came up and you've stood up as a man and went, okay, I hold my hands up. It takes a bigger man to admit his mistakes. I learned that growing up too as well. So the fact that you've done that, fair play to you, young man. And again, yes, if I meet you in person, I'll shake your hand. And I'll hug you and I'll say to you, look, are you still doing what you're doing? Good. Happy days. Fair play to you. And I respect you for it. But please, I will pray for you and hope that you don't go back down that road again, where you fall down that road where obviously trouble and stuff. But again, from what you've explained in that email and all too as well, it sounds to me like you're trying to get yourself back on track. And I don't know what you've done. I don't know what crime you've done. But at the end of the day, you've admitted to it. You've held your hands up. You've made it public. Fair play to you. Not a lot of people do that. And you obviously get up, and because you see people coming out of jail all the time, don't give a shit, and they go and live off the dole and don't give a crap, and you don't want to work anymore and just go down that bad road. But you've obviously get up and thought, right, no, I have a lot of mental health problems. I'm going to get that sorted. I'm going to get myself a job, which you've done. You get yourself an apartment, which you've done, which is great. So fair play to you, young man. And thank you for sharing your story. I do appreciate it. And keep me posted on how your developments are going, because I would love to hear more about it. I really, really would. Keep going. Keep pushing forward. What the achievements in life will come along in time. Just keep pushing forward, my friend. You'll get there. Trust me. Keep me posted how you're doing. Drop a wee message in every so often. I'll reply to this one back today. And keep me posted how you're getting on, because I'd love to hear more about you and how you're getting on over the next couple of years. Keep in touch, my friend. Right, guys, I'm going to go now and head off here to the Jackass of the Week segment. It's now time for the favourite segment of the day. Now, I could pick a lot of people for Jackass of the Week this week. You know what I mean? But I had to pick this people. So it was because of what happened. So it's now time for the segment we all love. It's now time for the Moore Army podcast Jackass of the Week segment. So there you go. There's how Boris back there. I don't know how Boris is doing. He's probably pissed off me the fact that the podcast is out on Friday instead of a Thursday. Sorry, Boris. It came down to two candidates, should we say. I was going to name the American government Jackass of the Week for not letting them people into the American waters to get those people rescued. But because I decided not to go pick them, I've decided to pick these other people instead, because they legitimately are fucking jackasses and I can't stand the look of them, and they're morons. So the Moore Army podcast Jackass of the Week for this week is, can I get a drum roll please? Thank you very much. The Moore Army podcast Jackass of the Week for this week is the Tate brothers. That's right. Andrew Tate and his brother are both the Jackass of the Week this week because of their because obviously what's happened to them this week and the way they came down and spoke to the press and media and the way they were acting. They were just fucking jackasses and stuff. I mean, I could have named Harry as well, because this recent stories come out saying he wanted to interview like Vladimir Putin and all them morons, but no, it's just the way them Tate boys were doing that press conference the other day. Go and look it up, guys. They are complete fucking jackasses, the way they stand there and they're all like, oh yeah, we love Romania and we're being blamed in the wrong, but the evidence is piled against you. And plus the fact that they're being bad influencers to the younger generation. So in my opinion, the Moore Army podcast Jackass of the Week for this week is the Tate brothers. So there you go. Right, guys, that is going to bring us to an end to another podcast. I've been rambling on. I came in here this morning, today, early lunchtime is here, I'm recording this, feeling a bit rough around the edges, obviously after having a good few swallies last night and a bit of a late night talking on the phone to people, and then out this morning and whatnot. So I'm actually feeling all right now. And this is what I keep telling people this all the time. This podcast is like therapy for me. It's fucking great. I love it. So every week I just sit and talk to you, and you download me, listen to me. It's just amazing. So it is. But anyway, I'm going to go. Guys, I'm going to head down the road here. So you all have a great weekend. I'm going to be posting stuff on social media over the weekend, so you'll probably see a few things popping up over the weekend. Back on Tuesday for another podcast, Tuesday morning. So if you have any questions at all, get in touch with me, mirrorarmypodcast@yahoo.com, and obviously all the social media platforms as well. I'd love to hear from you all for Tuesday. Any more suggestions for the show? Any segments you'd like to hear or anything at all? Seriously, get in touch, guys. I want to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. But yeah, I hope you all have a great weekend. As I said, I'm away this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. So until Tuesday, guys, stay tuned for more vlogs over the weekend as well. And until Tuesday, enjoy your weekend, guys. If it's sunny in your area, enjoy it. Enjoy the nice weather. If it's pissing down like it's going to be here this weekend, then fucking nightmare as usual. Typical Northern Ireland weather. So until Tuesday, guys, I will see you all back here for another episode of the Moore Army Podcast. So until then, guys, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks for listening.